All right, everybody, LUI here, obviously, with the classic physique champion for real. Second in Mr. Olympia, debatable. He is the champion of the New York Pro and also Pittsburgh. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
My friend Arash Rahbar. So me and this guy, we're friends. I stumbled upon him thanks to you guys. You were, tagging me on his pictures, and I said, the first picture I saw of you, bro, was a side tricep, right? And I said, wow, this guy is good. And then I bypassed it. I said, maybe, it's just a one shot. And then there was a most muscular pose, and then, front double back. I said, this guy is really good. And then I made a video about you, and we came to know each other. Right now, we're talking on WhatsApp pretty much on a daily basis, right?
Yeah. Rest is history.
The rest is history, bro. So tell us about yourself. Obviously, right now, you're on the East Coast. You're in the New York area, right?
Yeah, man. I live in New York. I'm of Persian descent. I was born in Iran. We came over here during the revolution. I've pretty much lived in New York all my life, minus 2 years I lived in Cali when I was really young. But yeah, I'm in New York.
All right. And you train in Bev's gym, right?
Yeah, I trained at Bev Francis. This past year, I moved out to Brooklyn, so I'm a little far. I go out there a few days a week, but I'm moving back over there. I miss the suburbs.
There you go. And beside being a competitive, classic physique athlete in a sense, you also date Miss Olympia, right?
Yeah, Juliana Melicarne is my girlfriend, three-time Miss Olympia. So
Three-time Miss Olympia. So
gotta
she
get her.
got best genetics are basically together. Bro, you just mentioned that while you are Persian and you fled Persia, namely Iran, back in the day. You told me about it. Would you mind sharing with my viewers a little bit of that ordeal when you were a kid?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, Iran went through a big change in '79. It was the Islamic Revolution. So for you guys that don't know about it, the government became Islamic. So as you can imagine, that's, big change, big culture shock, very scary for a lot of people. They closed the borders. Nobody was allowed to leave. It was a lot of chaos. So, my family didn't know what was going to happen or what was to come in the near years. So we left. We came to America. I was only 1 year old, so I don't have many memories of it. But my sister was 5, and obviously my parents were older. And we came here, we started a new life. I still have a lot of family there. I still have a lot of cousins, nieces, and nephews. My father actually moved back there. So I plan on planning a trip maybe this year or next year. I'd like to do a seminar there. There's a lot of amazing bodybuilders out there.
Absolutely. They're coming very good. I saw that guy. His name is Babak, and he has a crazy back.
Babak is phenomenal. He's very well-rounded. He's working with Dennis James. He's a great bodybuilder. Just like anybody else, he's going to progress and get better and put on some size. And when he does, with those proportions and conditioning, he's going to be deadly.
Exactly. Talking about Dennis James, he also had Baitu
Yeah.
Abospur, may he rest in peace, under his belt back in the day. One of the greatest bodybuilder from the Middle East, right?
Oh, yeah, God bless him. He was amazing, not only physically, but just I had the privilege of taking him out for kebab when he was here for the New York Pro, and he was just an amazing guy, man. We sat and spoke for 3 hours. He was so intelligent about nutrition and just everything about bodybuilding. He was an amazing guy.
Exactly. And if we go back to the political problems that you guys had in Iran in '79, for the unaware, these guys had kind of a monarch. His name was the Shah of Iran, and he was toppled thanks to us, like the Westerners. The Westerners at first helped a guy called Khomeini, right? That right? And Khomeini was in Lebanon. So the Westerners and also the Arabs helped him a lot to topple the Shah because they thought he would be better than the Shah. Next thing you know, it was not that way, and they taken hostage the U.S. embassy. It was a big mess.
It backfired, A lot of what the U.S. does backfires at times, but it's a shame. It's sad because the Persian Empire and Iran as a country is a beautiful place with 4 seasons, amazing old ancestry, art, food. So, it was a place many people desired to visit and go see. And, the Islamic Revolution changed that a lot, unfortunately.
Exactly. The thing is, the Shah also toppled another guy before him. His name was Mossadegh, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, the thing is, Mossadegh was also toppled because of mainly the British and because of BP, British Petroleum. This guy, Mossadegh, said, I no longer do business with British Petroleum. So, as far as I know, Churchill contacted the CIA and he asked the US to help him topple Mossadegh. So, they replaced him with the Shah. And then they were not pleased with the Shah. They brought Khomeini. Right now, you have Rouhani, I guess, right? Rouhani right now?
Yeah, it's times are definitely better than they were back then.
Yeah.
Things have it's loosened up a little bit, but hopefully we'll have bigger, better change to come in the future.
And that's why you guys are a big diaspora. There's a lot of you pretty much everywhere, all over the world. You see a lot of Persians because of that revolution in a sense.
Yeah, they a lot of people fled and they spread all over the world. There's a huge Persian population in California, Los Angeles, San Diego, New York is enormous. We're all over. It's like an infestation.
Absolutely. Even here, I guess probably you have like more Persian outside of Persia rather than Persia. It's like the Lebanese. You find more Lebanese outside rather than in Lebanon because of the war of the 80s as well.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It is. Talking about kebab, you mentioned kebab, but you told me that you don't eat kebab that much, right?
I do eat kebab a lot. You can get away with it with bodybuilding. It's a great healthy food, but the way that we really like to eat it with the bread and the appetizers and the rice with the butter in it and the steak, the red meat, I can't eat that too often. But right now I am. Right now I enjoy myself.
Because you're off season, and you told me you have an uncle who has a restaurant, right?
I was in the restaurant business myself. My family, we were in the restaurant business. So my manager that used to work for me and my chef went and opened their own place. So when I'm in Long Island, I always go to them. And it's exactly the same as what we used to have. So, it's nice to go there every once in a while. But when I was eating healthy and working in the restaurant always, I would get grilled chicken breast, no oil, no butter, and I'd bring my own white rice. So it wasn't really like eating authentic Persian food, But when I eat it with the rice and the bread and everything, it's one of my favorite dishes,
Alrighty, so let's way back to the main subject. It is the fitness. As far as I know, you started your journey as a physique competitor, right?
Yeah. I started competing in 2014. I had already been bodybuilding since I was like 13 years old, just as a passion.
Naturally, right?
Not 100% natural. I would just, in the beginning, I had a passion for it and I wanted to train and be better. And it just grew. It grew into an obsession to the point where I wasn't sure why I was doing it, but I knew I couldn't be without it. So I loved it, man. I trained 6 days a week and I ate 6-7 meals a day and never did a show. In the back of my head, I always said, one day I'll compete, one day I'll compete. Who really drove me was the bodybuilders in the 90s. I used to look up majorly to Kevin Levrone, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, everybody else, but those three the most. I had their DVDs. I used to mimic them and shadow them. And when I came around to competing, I was training at Bev's already. I had all my friends there. And men's physique was a really big division, and there was a big spotlight on it, so to speak. So it was either do the men's physique in NPC or do natural bodybuilding. And I decided to go with men's physique. One thing that turned me off, no hate against natural bodybuilding. I have a lot of natural bodybuilding professional pro friends, great federations. But one thing that turned me off is, forget about the amateur novice shows. Once you get to a certain point and you're at the higher levels like the universe and the worlds, there's a lot of guys in there that are debatable. And I'm the last person to ever point fingers because I know how far I got naturally, and I don't have the best genetics in the world. I have great genetics, but not the best. So when you see a freak out there and he claims to be natural, I never hate on them. I always say it's possible. This guy could have better genetics than me. There's guys with myostatin deficiency. But, I'm very, very much against people that lie. That's it. You want to be natural? No problem. You want to be on gear? No problem. But to say you're natural and take stuff and try to, pass the lie detector test, I don't have any respect for that. So that really turned me off.
All right, but right now, obviously, your physique really came to life and it gloomed in classic physique, right? We noticed you at the Plattsburgh and then was it the Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh and then the New York Pro. And now I know, even though you brought like a marvelous shape, but you were injured in a sense, especially in the knees, right?
Yeah, before Pittsburgh Pro, I had a little tear in my LCL in my left knee. Believe it or not, it was the weirdest thing. It happened during yoga. I raced cars. I did race cars for 2 seasons, and we had an endurance race for a weekend. So sitting in this tiny race car, caged car, really, really tight race seat, because I have teammates. So they got to fit in the seat. I couldn't make the seat bigger because it'd be too big for them and dangerous. So I got really stiff from the weekend. When I came back home to New York and I got in the gym, I came into a pigeon pose, which I'm very flexible. I could put my face to the ground, and my glute and hamstring was so tight it didn't give in, and my knee popped. I heard 3 pops, loud pops. Wow. I got right up. I got scared. I laid back. I got up afterwards and I was okay. But that night, the next day, it just hurt a lot. I just waited and waited. It didn't go away. I went to the doctor. He's like, look, you have a slight tear in your LCL. I did some rehab, and it got better. But I was able to train legs intensely into the Pittsburgh prep towards at least like 10-week point. But before that, I wasn't able to do heavy squats. A lot of hamstring work, but it hurt it a lot, believe it or not.
Okay, and as of right now, you also told me about a shoulder issue. I think the left one, right?
Yeah, I don't talk too much about this stuff because I'm just not the type to talk about things that are negative. It's a part of the game, you know. I have tweaks, aches and pains, and we all have tears, regardless if they're super, super small or they've gotten to the point where they need to be addressed a little bit more professionally, medically, surgery, or whatever. But I have some, dings and dangs here and there that I'm working on in the off season, and I'll be okay.
All right. Obviously, the big talk of the hour actually this year was the debut of the Classic Physique at the Olympia, in which he placed second to Danny Hester, right? 47-year-old gentleman. That's what's up. Yeah. He was unknown. I didn't know the guy. And, I made a lot of videos about it. In my opinion, my humble opinion, I think you were a little bit in the lead, not because you're my friend, but, looking at the metrics, the pictures, the poses, this and that, I had you lead in by slight, even though your shape was not the sharpest, right?
Yeah.
But let's all agree that the controversy was not around you guys, but it was a little bit further. Like at other spots, it started and it was kind of berserk, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, go ahead. I'll let you lead.
I mean, you are in the circuit, so obviously you're binded by, by political correctness. I respect that. But, okay, Ruffin Diesel, the youngster, 22-year-old, right? He was 9, right?
Yeah.
I think he should have been actually higher, right? And a lot of people are speculating that politics were still there this year, and it was not the way to go. So, listen, we will leave it at that way because you are still involved in that thing. Obviously, you cannot speculate about it. But I think the debut was somehow tarnished ever so slightly by some politics. Take it from the number 3 spot, very known name, up to, the 10th position. But obviously, it is growing sport. I am speculating. I made videos like yesterday and the week before that Classic Physique, it's my hope, and that's what my expectation, it will grow even more, and probably it will topple the all-out bodybuilding in being more famous there. Do you agree with that?
I think, before I say that, let me, the politics and all that stuff aside, I agree with what you said. It's unfortunate, whatever it is, if it's politics or it's something else, I don't know. Ruff, Diesel, definitely I think deserved better, and Ruff and Breon are both phenomenal, well-rounded bodybuilders.
Breon placed 4th, by the way, right?
Breon was 4th, yeah. I mean, from behind, they're both phenomenal, and I think they were both amazing. I think Breon was the best from behind, as far as conditioning is concerned. Bodybuilding, of course, as a whole, so all other angles and aspects and the look is to be considered. Now, the whole thing about, what are they looking for in Classic Physique? I think in the beginning everyone was asking me, what's Classic Physique? What are they looking for? Look, man, it's bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is supposed to be symmetrical, proportionate, and beautiful and aesthetic. There's no difference, just because it's gotten so big, they brought about Classic Physique, and it's the same thing. You want to be as big as you possibly can, as full as you possibly can, with the weight cut off, while having beautiful lines and symmetry and conditioning, you know? So, and they have been judging so far in 2016, all the shows that I've seen, they've been judging by bodybuilding
metrics.
Word, yeah. So there is no like special, they're not like rewarding less conditioning. They're not rewarding like smooth 1970s look. So, you know.
Exactly. I mean, listen, Danny Hester, since he is like, you know, the somehow the standard or basically the benchmark, the guy is a small bodybuilder. He has a very nice back, very thick back. Also, like the quadricep, there's a nice sweep to them. So if he is the metric by which they are judging you, it is definitely more bodybuilding oriented rather than physique. But then
Absolutely.
again, you arrive at the third spot where we have the famous Sadiq, and I'm lost.
Yeah.
It doesn't follow, you know, that logic in a sense. So that's why, you know, it was somehow of a controversy. But nonetheless, there is a lot of new talent that is coming there, you know, from Canada. That the youngster we spoke about, what's his name again? I always forgot his name actually. Bumstead, I think, right? 21-year-old.
His first name is with a C, no? Chris or something?
Yeah, Chris Bumstead. And there's also this guy
boy.
here. You know this guy. What's his name, right? There we go.
Oh, that's my boy. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, this guy is, his name is Drobot, Cody Drobot, 23-year-old from Canada. So a lot of good talent is coming there. And it is my expectation because bodybuilding appeals granted to the gym bros, the big orexia guys, and that will always be underground niche. It's not a mainstream niche. Most gym goers do not have, you know, the so-called big orexia or the body dysmorphia. They don't want to be like huge freaks. They admire them, but in daily life they don't aspire to be like them. That's why you guys, I think, are called to grow even more in the next years.
I totally agree. I was never a big fan of men's physique in the beginning, and then later on I liked it because it grew, and the guys are small bodybuilders. But you know, men's physique is huge. It could be argued that it's bigger than bodybuilding as far as guys competing in the NPC and just the amount of. I mean, how many was in the Olympia this year? Like 40 or 50 guys in men's physique Olympia. That's insane. I mean, I feel bad for the judges. But that being said, you know, it'll take a long time because at the end of the day, you don't go to the zoo to see the parrot. You go to the zoo to see the gorillas. And everybody goes and buys the tickets to the Olympia to see these freaks of nature, these enormous size. You know, you can see a nice body, you know, here and there, but how many times in your lifetime are you going to see a Rolly Winkler, a Phil Heath, a Big Ramy in person up close, be able to shake their hand and say hello? I mean, these guys are just like Godzilla to some people, you know?
There'll always be an appeal to that. You know, started with Dorian Yates, then Nasser El Somebody, Marcus Rule, Ronnie Coleman, all the big guys attract, you know, they're like the freaks of the show. But nonetheless, these guys cannot do vacuum nowadays. They cannot do ground poses. They cannot move about like you guys can afford to do. You are still a human in a sense.
Yeah.
And you are the closest thing to the golden era. And even when it comes to the vitamins, you guys are not on the vitamins all year long. So you take just minute levels of those kind of
things. One thing I learned, as far as the vitamins is concerned, everyone's different. Some guys that you look at and you think, oh my God, they're on everything under the sun. They're actually not. And some guys that are like not even that big or impressive are on everything under the sun. So that varies from person to person. But you know, we're both very big into cars. I'll use a car analogy. It's the same thing as cars.
I know.
You know, the top bodybuilders are the supercars of automobiles. They're not very functional. You know, a Ferrari doesn't do much very well. It just is beautiful and it's fast, but you can't go grocery shopping. You can't drive it in the snow. It doesn't fit a lot of stuff. So it's a compromise, you know?
Compromise a lot.
Yeah, you know, if you're looking to be, you know, wear a suit and go partying on the weekends and do some martial arts and go skiing, then no, you're not going to be 260 pounds diced to the socks. It's not happening.
And knowing you, I mean, I know basically the level of consumption of vitamins you take, and it is so minute, it is ridiculous. Some people would not believe, but that's what's up. You're a 230-pound guy.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much almost, you know, as Nothing, pretty much. Nothing.
Well, look, the thing is, it's all relative. I put in a lot of work before. And although we all have bigorexia and dysmorphia, and we all want to look amazing and hard and granite all year round, I understand that, you know, in social media, the guys are shredded all year round in all their pictures. Either it's a lie, those are pictures from 7 months ago, or they're going to hurt themselves. I can't look the way that I look for a competition with or without vitamins all year round. It's just not, it's not healthy. And I want to be in the sport for many, many years. And regardless of bodybuilding or not, if I stop competing tomorrow, I'm going to bodybuild for the rest of my life till I'm 6 feet under. That's just, there's no way around that. That's going to continue to happen. And I don't want to fizzle away. I don't want to be like handicapped and hunched over and all messed up with my health. You know, like people say, what would you rather live? You know, 50 years as a lamb or 5 years as a lion? I want to live 50 years as a fucking lion, you know?
Exactly. So, the next competition, you were expecting the Arnold Classic, but obviously there will not be, right?
I was, after the Olympia, when I got off stage, I was tired because I did the Pittsburgh Pro and the New York Pro. I was fried for the Olympia. But when I got off stage, I was like, I cannot wait for the Arnold Classic. And I spoke to the Arnold Sports last week, and I'm very, very unfortunate to hear that they don't have classic physique. Someone told me the other day that they did the same with men's physique. The first 2 years they didn't have men's physique. I have no idea why, because Arnold classic physique. Arnold was a big part of us getting this division. You know, they know who the top guys are. We already had numerous winners of shows, and we had an Olympia. I would love for them to have it, you know, but it looks like they're not going to have it.
Hopefully they will have it next year because there is a lot of enthusiasm. A lot of guys are joining. I mean, the talent is so wide, it's just immense. But that would be a competition in Kuwait, right?
It's not confirmed. I believe that there's been talks about possible show. That would be great. I think, you know, Kuwait is a great place. What they're doing for the sport, the guys out there are very enthusiastic, and I'd love to see that, man. You know, India, Kuwait, Iran. So yeah, man, as more shows in other parts of the world, the better.
It will be your first time in Kuwait, right?
If I go to Kuwait, it will be my first time there. Yeah.
Just next to Iran, right?
Very, very close.
That you have a border, and the guy Ashkinani, number 2nd in Mr. Olympia 212. He's from a Persian descent living in Kuwait, right?
Yeah, you were telling me that. His name, Ashkenazi, is a Persian last name, yeah.
Exactly. A lot of them live there. So that's it. Who knows? Maybe you'll try and do a report on anabolic chicken, bro.
I'll never come back from Kuwait.
That's what's up. One other thing they have there, if you go and connect with the Camel Crew, because I know these guys, they have a lot of cool cars. I mean, they drive some supercars, man.
Yeah, those guys, their supercars are like disposable. They drive them in the desert, it gets stuck, they leave the Lamborghini and they go home. You know?
Badr Budai, his daily driver is a Rolls Royce. Exactly. And the guy, his name is Al-Naki, he's a trainer of Ramy, Big Ramy. His daily driver is a Porsche Turbo S modified.
Yeah, so I'll sign up for that show if they announce.
Talking about cars, you have an M3, right?
I have an E46 M3, yeah.
Race prepped, or is it daily?
Not yet. It's unfortunately been sitting in a garage because of Pittsburgh, New York, and Olympia. I was going to build it into a track car, but keep it street legal, coilovers, half cage, race seats, you know, try to lighten it up a bit. And I'm going to do it. It's a car that I want to keep for a long time, but I haven't been to the track in 2 seasons because of bodybuilding. Well, 1 season, actually.
Will you add some CSL parts?
I already have a carbon fiber CSL trunk. I showed you the picture of that.
Yeah, you showed me that.
It's beautiful. The CSL front bumper I think is gorgeous, but it's absolutely pointless. I'm just going to take the fog lights out, put brake duct cooling, and maybe a splitter in the front. And that's really it. I'm going to do Apex wheels, not the CSL wheels. Exhaust, tune, stuff like that.
So stock it has about 333 in the US, right?
Yeah.
And in Europe it had 343 horsepower. 10
yeah.
more horsepower.
I mean, the E46 compared to cars today, it's gutless. It's not powerful. There's not a lot of torque at all. You have to wring its neck. But just like a 911, it's a raw, enjoyable car, and it's like a glove. Whereas the cars today, the new M3, the F80, which I have a lot of respect for, I was even considering getting that for my daily, and other cars, they're very, very detached. And not only because of the turbos, but because they're very heavy, there's a lot more sound deadening, and they're safer. You keep on giving people more and more power, but people aren't becoming better and better drivers. If anything, they're becoming worse drivers. So there's more driver aids. My M3 is scarier at high speed than a 4,000-pound luxury BMW, in my opinion.
Your car is the sweet spot. The E46 was 3,400 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And the size is exactly the same size as my 2 Series car, which is like the smallest BMW you can get. That's why I have it. And right now, I'm waiting for the new M2. I think I sent you a video about it, because the current M2 has the same engine as my M235, but there is a new one with the M4 engine to be the best of both worlds.
That's amazing. I mean, that's basically what the 1M was trying to be, you know. So I think they're getting it right. They're getting hitting the nail on the head, and it's an amazing car. But again, like, you'll hear a lot of people complain about the it's too twitchy, it's too short. Well, that's because it's a true sports car size. How you think an F1 car feels? The longer the car is, the safer it's going to be. But that's not a genuine race car, you know. So the M2 that you're talking about, for novice newbie drivers, it's going to be a handful, especially if there's a little bit of dampness in the air.
Thing is, I had the 135i modified, you know, twin turbo, and it was the scariest thing ever. And at the same time, it was fun because it was challenging you. You were always scared, basically, of reaching the limit. My current car, though, the M235i, it's not modified, but it helps you, it flatters you, it feels safe.
Yeah.
Right? So they fixed that, but I miss like the risky side of my 135.
I compare the 1M to the 2 Series that you have, the 1 chassis to the 2. I compare it like the old 911s, the 997.5 versus the 991.
991 is safe.
It's more civilized. It's longer wheelbase, longer car. The engine is closer mounted, but it's just a safer car. But it doesn't mean the old 911s were bad. They were amazing cars. But you had to know how to. Those cars, your car, the old 911, is a different driving technique. You can't get off throttle mid-turn because you'll lose traction in the back end and the car just floats away at you. You'll hit the guardrail.
The 997 was the very last classical 911 for the simple fact it was really rear-wheel engined. It was really there. Right now it's almost mid-mounted.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little bit forward, and it does not have that basically sneaky tendency of losing the rear end or like a sledgehammer.
And cantilevered over the rear axles. And that's why the Cayman is so good. It's such a good car. They just won't give it power, because if they gave the Cayman power, nobody would buy the 911.
They gave it to the GT4, but it's still not that good.
It's still underpowered, but the GT4 is a marvelous. GT4 is one of the best cars on the planet Earth, but it's underpowered for, you know, guys want power nowadays, you know. You're talking about 500 horsepower is no big deal at all. Everybody's got 500 horsepower. There's something wrong with you if you don't have 500 horsepower.
The thing is, the new Cayman, it is a 2.5-liter turbo 4-banger, and it has more torque than the GT4. A lot of people like it, except one detail about it: the sound. It sounds like a Subaru STI.
Yeah, that's what happens when you take a boxer and you know a little turbo on there, so it kind of muffles it up. But I'm sure you can mod it and do a few things and make it a little raspier.
What's your dream car, by the way? You sent me a video. You were driving the Ferrari 488 about 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, my cousin had a 458. He's had a few Ferraris, but he just got the 488. I'm trying to get him to let me take it to the track, because driving around the streets is not enough for me. I love Ferrari. You know, I really, really like Ferrari. I'd probably get a black one to be a little bit more low-key. They're too loud and too flashy for the street. I'm really a Porsche guy.
So what, man? It's a Ferrari, bro. It's like, you know, if I had a Ferrari, I'm not going to be like you. I'm not going to be like low-key. I'll have like the most flashy red Ferrari or yellow Ferrari.
It's embarrassing. I don't like being stared at like that. My friend bought an orange Lamborghini, and we went for a ride in it, and I was seriously embarrassed. It was like, hey, look at me, you know? I like performance cars. I love raw cars. I love loud cars, but not to go and like rev my engine in front of a restaurant. I want to go and race that thing. So I'm a big fan of the GT3. So, you know, but it's not too far. It's not supercar price, 300,000, 250,000.
Which one are you talking about? The 991 or the 997?
Honestly, I like both, but the 991 GT3 is something else. Uh,
PDK.
yeah, look, the argument with PDK, I was talking to somebody today about the new M3, and they were like, oh, the PDK and the DCT and the M3, they're amazing. So for a real driver, a real aggressive driver like myself, it's hard to turn your back on them, especially if you're doing track days. When you're at a high speed driving, there's no comparison whatsoever. And I have the manual in the E46. I had the SMG and the M5, the V10 M5. That thing sucked. That was terrible.
Exactly.
I'd rather have had a stick, but back then they didn't even. I had the first year, they didn't even make it in stick. They made it the second year, but yeah, it'd be hard to not take that PDK. I mean, if I wanted to not take the PDK, I would probably go with the GT4 because that only comes in stick.
Exactly. Well, listen, talking about the GT3, they're making the GT3 and GT3 RS, but they made a special version, that 911R, exclusively
Yeah.
with a six-speed manual, and it is being sold right now on eBay at $1 million.
Yeah, that's crazy. Even if I had the money, I mean, I don't think I'd ever spend that kind of money on a car like that. That's a badass car. It's you really taught me about that car a lot. It's a GT3 RS, just more civil for the road. We've never had something like that because the GT3 RS I love. It's a badass car. I see a lot of them around here, by the way, in New York on the North Shore. A lot of people have them. I see a purple one all the time, but they're race cars. They're full-blown race cars with a huge wing. Some people don't want that. So the R is badass. But the fact that it went up to $1 million, I mean, it's too inflated.
You have
I
no
mean,
choice because for that car, they invite you to buy it. It's not, you cannot go to the dealership and order it.
it's for collectors. Look, for a million, I mean, I understand when you have that much money, it's a collector, and you can also make money on it. I'd rather have a 488 and the GT3 RS and 3 Italian race bikes. So, and still have money left over to buy some supplements.
If it was up to me, if I had the money, I'll go for the 997 GT3 RS 4.0.
That's a badass car. I really like that car.
You know what? I found one. It was here in Canada for sale. The guy was crazy. He was selling it for like 200 G's Canadian, which is like nothing. That's almost like MSRP price.
That's very cheap, yeah.
It's very cheap. Right now, these cars are going for like 800,000 US.
But that was another car. Like I never saw it being raced or anything. It's a collector's car, But there's a company called Sharkworks. I know the value is not the same, but Sharkworks will build you that. They'll bore out your 3.8 into a 4.0.
Exactly. Now for the 4.1, actually, it's a 4.1 and it has 541 horsepower at Sharkworks.
Yeah, I don't think people realize what 541 horsepower, how insane that is out of this tiny Boxer 6 with no turbos. The only other cars, I mean, the V10 M5, the Z06, C6 Z06, they have 500 horse. All the cars today that have over 500 are twin turbo.
Exactly. Or actually the R8 or the Huracan, they have a V10 at 600 horsepower.
Yeah, that's big money in the V10.
The Viper 640 NA.
Yeah, and you also kill yourself because the average person can't handle that car.
The thing is, right now talking about the Viper, the ACR is one of the fastest track cars ever. Faster than the GT3 RS, and it has a stick.
Yeah, it's a badass car and it's beautiful. I've seen it in person, but when you're spending that much money, value and depreciation is a big factor. At the end of the day, it's a little bit rinky-dinky. Like I drove the C6 Z06. I was thinking of buying it a few years ago, and I have a lot of respect for that car. I'm not a biased guy. I'm not only German, but once you've driven a German and Italian car, it's really tough to go to American. The Americans are doing amazing things with the cars, but the fit and finish, just closing the door is different. Like my E46 M3. If you don't have a little bit of muscle, a little workout in your form, you're not opening my door. My sister was outside my car, like, unlock the door. I'm like, it's unlocked. You got to pull on that thing. It's German.
You're Persian and you're a car freak, obviously. So you must be a friend of Hani Rambod, are you?
Yeah, we're friends. Every time I see Hani, he's very, very kind. At the Olympia and at Pittsburgh, right when I got off stage, he came up to me, gave me some pointers, told me what he thinks. He's a great guy.
He had a GT4 Cayman. He exchanged it for a Shelby GT350R, like the best, and they're very expensive right now. And I think he has also right now a Viper ACR. So
The Shelby's a badass car. I would never trade a Porsche for that. But I know he had those cars. I've never seen them in person. Unfortunately, I would have taken the GT4 for a drive. But it's not. I feel like the Mustang is more fitting for him. He's a big dude. The GT4 is a very small car.
Exactly. But listen, that Mustang, the Shelby GT350R, man, maximum respect. I mean, they made it. With the stick, it's a flat plank V8, 525 horsepower. It did the Nürburgring in 732. That's crazy, man.
Like 2011-ish, the American cars just took it to another level. When the Mustang went back to the 5.0, that's it. I mean, at that point, that Mustang is nothing compared to today, but it was neck and neck with the M3.
Yeah.
But again, man, if you sit in these cars back to back, if you drive these cars back to back, which I have, it's very, very, very hard to choose American over German. And guys can sit there and talk about stats on the computer all day long, but it depends on who's driving the car, man.
Yeah, that is one metric you cannot measure. It is the feeling behind the wheel.
Yeah.
It's like right now the 997 GT3 is not the fastest, but being around behind the wheel, like I just saw a video of what's his name, Matt Farah. He drove one like 2 weeks ago, and he was like a kid. Even though it's an outdated car, and it's going up and up in price because of that. You cannot measure that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it, man. So beside cars, and I see bike basically behind you. What other passions do you have in life, man?
Too many, man. Sometimes I feel like I have too many hobbies. I come from like an artist background. My mother and my sister are artists, so I used to refurbish furniture when I was younger. I used to make models and stuff like that. And I think that's why I took such a liking to bodybuilding, because as tacky or cliche as it sounds, it's like I'm sculpting a sculpture for 40 years. It's the same thing. But so I love cars and bikes. Bodybuilding. I'm big into architecture and homes. I'd love to build myself a home one day. But to be honest with you, between real estate and bodybuilding, I haven't had time to do anything. Like those race helmets and that suit I haven't put on in a year. So racing cars and bikes are really, really time consuming. Going to the track is insanely time consuming. You got to have friends or somebody to go with you, and it's always weekends and weeks and months and working on the car or bike before, getting it ready, and then working on it after, So hopefully next year I'll spend some time on the track, because I definitely don't want to lose that aspect, that hobby,
Okay, before getting into professional competition, you knew King Kamali, who was another Persian bodybuilder, right?
Yeah, I knew him very well.
You also dated his sister.
Yeah, we dated for a while, for like 2 years. This was like almost 10 years ago.
He was competing back then, right?
He was competing, yeah. I met him and his sister after the New York Pro. So I went to the New York Pro, great show, and then we went to Sound Factory. Anybody that's from New York remembers that. This is a shit show, crack house. The after party at the New York Pro was always there. So Chris Cormier, Dennis James, Craig Titus, all the party animals. Craig Titus, yeah.
He was like in a feud with King Kamali.
They would go back and forth. They were like great friends, and then they were fighting. So when I was friends with King, they were friends at one point, because we hung out. We went to Space Nightclub together. So yeah, I saw some girls, and I was like, those girls look Middle Eastern. So I went over and started talking to them, and they weren't near King, but it turned out it was King's sister, and we all hit it off, and I hung out with them all night, and the rest is history.
Alrighty. And right now your girlfriend, she's in California, I think, right? She's posting pictures about California.
Back now, yeah.
Alrighty. You guys live together, no?
No, we don't.
And you told me you're planning to move from this loft. You have a loft, right?
Yeah, I moved over here to be closer to work. It's a cool, hip area. Anyone knows about Brooklyn, like Williamsburg, it's like a hipster area. But, I like the suburbs. I miss Long Island. City life is not too much for me. And honestly, I don't take advantage of, like, the things that are going on here and the reason everybody wants to live here. Like the bodybuilding lifestyle, is you're home a lot. I work a lot, too. So, I'm thinking of moving back.
Absolutely. You know what, man? We're talking since already 40 minutes, because you and me, we chat like so often.
Wow. When we were talking about the cars, I was like, oh no, a bunch of the guys that are not into cars are going to be like, what the hell are these guys talking about?
No, me and this guy, we talk mainly about cars. I mean, I was, trying to convince him to buy the new M3 ZCP, but obviously it's too small for him. He wants a big car, so probably he'll wait for the next M5.
I was talking to my buddy today. He's a car dealer. So I'm going to go and sit and drive the M5 and the M3, and I'm going to decide between the two of them.
But the M5, the outgoing one, right?
Yeah, the F10 M5. I think the M3 is a better car, better buy. It can make the same, close to the same power as the M5 with a tune and downpipe. And I think it's absolutely beautiful because they had to extend the wheel wells to make it wider to fit the M4's wheelbase. So the car looks so aggressive. But I'm just afraid, like, because when I sit in Jules's 3 Series, she's a 328, it's a little tight. And obviously I have an E46, it's half the size, but that's fine for me to drive a few hours here and there. But when you're in the car every day and you got your food and your bags and the phone and everything, you don't want to be like stuffy in the car, you know?
Then by all means, go for the F10. I mean, I drove the M3 DCT and I tried to love the car. I tried. I didn't like it. I was honest with the guy, bro. I can't wait to go back to my 2 Series.
You know, one thing I noticed about BMW, I'm sure it's changed since the turbos, and I don't have a lot of seat time in the new cars, but I went from an E55, a Mercedes supercharged V8,
yeah,
to the M5, a naturally aspirated V10. There was no comparison. The E55 was fast at a quarter mile, but the V10 was a much better car. But when I first got in the car the first day and I drove it, I was like, oh my God, I made a huge mistake. This car sucks. You really got to have all the settings right and wring the car's neck and drive.
507 horsepower.
Exactly. Whereas Mercedes, they're muscle cars. They're hot rods. They're really shiny, really pretty. You hit the gas, they make a loud noise. Yeah. So, you know, I think the same thing probably applies to the M3. I think if you lived in the M3 for like a week, you'd probably like it better.
Hopefully. I'm going to try actually the ZCP, but me, you know, I don't track my car, so I'll go with the 6-speed manual. And we'll see how it goes. They're making a new model actually next year. It's called the CS, not the CSL, but just the CS Club Sport. So they're bringing parts from the DTS and the ZCP or the ZCP package.
I can't keep track anymore, man. They're making us depressed. I want all of them. I want one of each.
I know, but I have no kids, so I can try that, man. That's it, bro. Kids. So yeah, anything else you want to add to your fans?
What do you think people want to hear? What do they want?
They have a YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube channel, Arash Rahbar, which I've been on almost every day now. I'm adding a lot more content. Today I actually posted recommendations for Q&A. I'll be recording the video today or tomorrow, and I'll be putting up answering a lot of questions. I'll probably end up doing a live Q&A, either Facebook or YouTube. I'm still getting the hang of all this tech stuff. And I also hit me up on Instagram, Arash Rahbar. I post a lot of stuff on there. I try to post, you know, more helpful tips and tricks or workouts or, you know, stuff that you guys can use. And people are always asking questions and commenting, and I try my best to get back to them.
There you go, bro. It was a pleasure talking to you. Give us a bicep shot. We compare my natty gains versus
my pleasure, bro.
Look at the natty gains versus that. Do I even lift? Man, you're big, bro. Salute you, bro. I'll get back to you soon. Have a nice one.
A pleasure. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.